So cricket is something which is an international game by today.
It is truly an international
There
game.
are some people who are coming to the teams in the different backgrounds, different colors, different nations, and even different religions. Right?
Yes.
So Sri Lanka, India, Australia, even Canada, or even if you take it up by today, Namibia or Nigeria or some other country who is playing cricket. They are having different nations, and there is the minority and the majority, and there are players who are coming to the teams and playing and making the nation proud with their contributions.
True. I think majority of the teams are really very diverse and they have players from different backgrounds. I would say, for example, if you take England, England has a lot of flaws, but when it comes to diversity and inclusion, you can't see a better team than England, and to an extent, New Zealand.
Exactly.
Lot of players. I mean, Ravindra is really different from Conway. Conway was born in South Africa, and Ravindra was having an Indian origin, and Ajas Patel, and so many other things. And you don't need to go to all these big boards. Just go to Zimbabwe. Raja has been playing for a long time, and he has just become a stalwart of their team and everything. So cricket has been growing, and I'm really happy it's becoming more and more inclusive. And but with the inclusion, we might sometimes get few problems as well.
Yes. So with this, I think you know with background that what we are going to talk today. So there is a man called Khawaja.
Usman Khawaja.
Usman Khawaja. So you know it by the different pronunciations, different names, because if you when you trying to pronounce, when you go there, when some other countries, my friends are calling my name Pereira, like that. But I'm Pereira.
Yeah,
Right?
I mean
So,
that's always the case. 9 out of 10 people pronounce my name wrong. I made peace with that.
yes. So in the world, the different people, differentialities we are recognizing, accepting, and playing the game as a one.
True.
Right? So what we want to talk about with this man who is playing his last test now, and to be honor this 39-year-old man, as well as the things in the historical game, what went wrong to stop this sort of things to be happened,
True.
and things are being there. So you know there is a country called South Africa.
Of course,
And
everyone knows.
you remember the appetites, and you remember it's 1968-69 England tour of South Africa.
Yes.
And there was a man called Basil de Oliveira, a player, some recognized best by the county cricket then. He was born in South Africa, but the part is he was a black African. So you know by then the white man was dominating England, Africa. So he had to go to Africa, from Africa to England and play there. And he was selected to be played in England. And in 1968-69 tour of South Africa, he was included first. But with the discussions with the ECB and the South African Cricket Board, he was excluded, as it was said, in the first list. Right? And next, it came. There was an injury to a fast bowler. So, with the pressure that we are getting, trolling and all those things which are putting to include some good players today, not like Kusal Mendis, right?
That's a whole different discussion.
Yeah, a different discussion. But they were pushing to have this man to the ECB. So, Basil de Oliveira was in. But what happened was, then the South African Cricket Board came with the guns and swords and all those things, told, no, we are cancelling the England tour if this man is included. Because he is a black African who is included there because of the racial issue, racism issue.
how pathetic a thing can be. It's not about his fitness, not about his talent, not about whether he is a bowler or bat, but just the skin color. The world was horrible some time back, right? It is in many ways, but those things are like, very, very pathetic to even to hear.
Yeah, my heart was down and broken and all those things. But what happened, after that in 1969, it was South Africa who had to go out of from the international cricket calendar until 1992 World Cup.
Yeah,
For
until
22 years, and we know that Pollocks, Clive Rices, and the Barry Richards, all big names from South Africa, were out of the international calendar too by then.
I think there are a few players played for Australia as well at that time because they started to South Africa. And
Exactly. So because of these racism issues, there were many things happened. And throughout the history, there were many things, but this was the main thing what we could recognize. If you recall, our famous, our beloved commentator Tony Gregg.
Yeah.
And, Tony had some issues against the West Indians in 1970s when West Indians played in England. And once Englishmen were playing there, and he was very racially having some issues with the cricketers because
Yeah,
he's
so
a
it's
South
really
African born man and raised in Australia and played for England. You all know that, right?
Yeah, true.
So this man also having these racism issues also
It's just
by
because-
his blood.
Yeah, so because that's how the world was constructed. So anybody coming from there, like this generational trauma being passed to people, these kind of bad stuff also been passed to people. So they actually come up with that, and maybe eventually many of them learnt it in good way and just pass it on. But even in the modern era, we had issues with not exactly on the skin color. Samuels and Shane Warne and Ben Stokes had a lot of issues with insulting each other's families and stuff. So this is something like an ugly side of that. But we need to, if we have to divert our focus on Australia, I would say like Australia is predominantly a very notorious country in terms of race. For a long time, they had a policy called White Australian policy.
Let me tell me something.
Yeah.
You know that we say the million years back, the human, the Homo sapien was just started their living, or Homo Neanderthal.
Yeah.
Those ones in the where we say the West Africa,
Sure.
or the East Africa, or the South Africa, or the Central Africa, the Africa.
Yeah.
From there, they just migrated into the certain parts of the world and to the Asia, to the Europe, then one part to the America, and then one part to the South America too. But
True.
how can they go to Australia, Indonesia, like islands, when you are not having boats or anything? You say this million years in that. So the recent findings say about 30,000, 20,000 years back, somehow they have migrated to Australia.
It's been there are few theories argue that the world was actually one land plate, and eventually in million years it just broke in and just went
Yes,
to
Godwalland into that, because what I want to say is it was a one, and these people went there, and these aborigines, all those things came into picture.
Yes.
And we know that the Englishmen who are found by the Captain Cook, the Australia, and then Australia was sent by all the bad people from England to Australia.
Yeah.
And by 1830 it became a colony. So you say the white people who are originally today say from Australia, they say today,
Yeah.
only lesser than 200 years old as a colonial country.
True. And they did, while you're saying, I just remembered one thing. One of the Australian Prime Minister came and he actually apologized to the Aboriginals about the atrocities happened during the colonial time. They did an ancestry or lineage check, right? And apparently, his grandfather and grandmother, because they, you know that whoever sent to Australia on the first consignment were actually criminals because
I didn't want to use that word.
because it's all around the internet and it's all around. Everybody knows that. And till date, people say it's not Australian Day; it's an invasion day. So there are so many debates going on there. And they apparently they found out why the both of them stole certain stuff as kids, and they have to be put into jail, and then they were sent to Australia. So this is actually the very first history of Australia.
The Australian white people. Very first
Yeah.
history of the Australian white people.
True. Thank you for correcting me on that. And then we come back to that. They had a white immigration policy. You need to be white to get into Australia, and that's how Sri Lanka's.
We are not having anything against the white men of Australia people. We know there are thousands, millions of good people
Yeah.
who are against this thing.
Yeah, so we are talking about few people who comes to Usman Khawaja's comment box and say like, die. So we are talking about them. So we'll come back to that in a while. And even Dave Watmore, Sri Lanka's World Cup winning coach, he was actually born in Sri Lanka, but they migrated in 1956. Of course, Sri Lanka had our own mistakes of policies, and then so they were able to go to Australia because they had this European white origin. And it's in mostly, I think, in 70s and 80s, they started welcoming people. I think the first wave of Vietnamese came because of the
No,
Vietnam
actually,
War.
it was very simply under the what you call the English Commonwealth countries.
True.
They allowed them to with their regular passport.
Yeah, true.
Without visa or anything, they could go to Australia
So still
directly,
they
and they
are
were getting
public.
actually until 1993. Until 1993, Sri Lankans could go there to Australia with a doll to start a family life in Australia, but because of the how Sri Lankans play badly,
Yeah,
we missed
true.
that opportunity. That's a
We
different
just-
story,
Yeah,
right?
so that's where. So then they welcome Vietnamese from the Vietnam War, Koreans from this North Korea, South Korea issues, and then a wave of Chinese came there to set up something, and then Indians.
Not a wave, it's a flood.
Yeah. So then you had Indians going there because of the various issues there.
It's a cyclone.
Yeah. So likewise, we actually, and then you find that Sri Lankans also were going to Australia, and then they all make it up. So Khawaja's story starts. He was born in Pakistan, Islamabad precisely, and he migrated to Australia when he was 4 years old, and. To tell you the truth, this happens in 1992, right? 1992, 1993, and Australia was not multicultural as it is at that time. And we know certain things which happened to Murali, and when he was accused, he was chucking, and there was some racial abuse to him and all. And we all know that how bad the Australian
Now,
crowd
if you
can be.
listen to some commentary box comments there,
Yeah, of course. And there is a famous incident.
listen, there are something in internet.
There is a famous instance about an Australian commentator calling Hashim Amla a terrorist just because he had a beard. And this happened in 2000s, right? I'm talking about 90s. So he had a tough time growing up because you will understand predominantly people doesn't look like you. Their hair, their skin, their behavior, their religion, your customs, and they don't speak like you. And then from that point to come into Australian national cricket, it's a big achievement because in Australia, cricket is a big deal, almost their national sport. And people get even the Australian Cricket Board even pay them pension. I mean, if you represent
exactly,
Australia,
exactly.
so it's very
Not like
hard to-
playing in the Sri Lankan parliament, it's parliamentarians, right?
Yeah, so they lost it yesterday. So Australian cricketers still have it. So what I really wanted to say in this point is it was very difficult for people to cut across so much things to go to the point where they were. And he break into the Australian team. And the funny part is he and David Warner are from same age, same club, and they always have this nice photo of
They
them
were
walking
in the
there.
same frame in most of the times
Yes.
from the little age.
Yes, but I don't know whether it's an excuse that Australia was on transition, Australia was desperately need an opener, so there were so many excuses being given. David Warner was picked up to play Australian national team without even playing one first class match. It created so much kind of a ripple in the Australian cricket media, because they were talking about like how can somebody be picked up, but he did justice, I would say. Like, he came and he hammered from the day
Yeah,
that he was
he's a once in a lifetime cricketer, because
Yeah.
there are no much Warners in the history of cricket and will be very few in the cricket too. So he is an exception. Yes.
And then Khawaja came in after playing so many first class cricket.
And also Khawaja is not less to Warner,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
his technique and all those things,
yes.
maybe the rate of scoring may be a bit higher in Warner, but technically Khawaja is more correct.
Yeah. And then he break into the Australian cricket team. As you said, like so much things. And for good or bad reasons, he was dropped just after few. I mean, he was not given a consistent run, which certain other cricketers who didn't perform well didn't get. So then he's been dropped and almost like, lost hopes, and he was just playing Big Bash League and like Sheffield Shield and various other first class tournaments. And then one beautiful thing happens. He was called back because Australia wanted an opener. And in his second innings, I would say, he aced it. And if you could see this decade, that means 2022, this is now we are in 2026, this 6 year, maybe 5 years, he had the highest average in Australian batters. Even Steve Smith is less to the. I think Khawaja had
Actually,
around
when
40.
he was given the opportunity, he was in the aces.
Yeah. And then again, everything went well. I think why this thing got stirred back about this racism and all, why we have to talk about this is the Khawaja's press conference just before he's playing his last test match. This is 88th test match. And just before that, he announced that this will be his last international match. And there he spoke about something very disturbing. He spoke about the racial framing, and he's been called this, that, and people ask him to go back to your country or something, different things. But personally, I believe would have hurt him so much during this conflict between Palestine and Israel was broken. He was about to wear a shoe called All Lives Matter. Exactly. He didn't even say Free Palestine or something like that. He just said all lives matter. But somehow ICC stepped in and they stopped. This is political and you can't really do that. And it was so heartwarming. That time, Pat Cummins came to support him. And Pat Cummins told he has the right to speak about what he believes and all these things. And I wrote something about it's nice to have a walk captain for Australia. And somehow this algorithm and FB worked mysteriously, and so many Australians came and abused me on that post as well, right?
No, actually, to be frank with you, you know that when still talk about Murali is the world best bowler. Warney died about 3-4 years back, right? Still, there are some Australians or so-called Australians who are coming and making their best effort to prove that Murali is a chucker. And
Yeah.
they want to prove it. And the ICC, Australian cricket, excused a decade back, and their umpire said Australian Cricket Board told them and paid them to do this so, right?
It's always like...
Yeah, right. But still there are Australians, so-called Australians coming, because I am getting the same issue, and they are just trolling and just trying to say, and there are some words I am using, I don't want to say it here.
Sure.
And just they are going out of that the Facebook and all those. This thing is happening continuously. I don't know. Australia, sorry for you. but still these guys make your cricket a menace.
And what I really loved about it, I mean, there's always like, some silver line in the darkness. But Australian Cricket Board stepped into, and they are now pumping money to make Australian cricket more inclusive and diverse. And Russell Arnold also been picked as one of
Exactly,
the
exactly,
advice
exactly.
to
Yeah.
do that. That's a really great
Yeah,
thing,
yeah, yeah.
because so many ex Sri Lankan cricketers, so many ex international cricketers now live in Australia, so they can contribute to make it a little bit more inclusive and diverse. That's a really good thing. And now they are accepting the Aboriginal history, and they are doing this. I think before the matches in Perth and in Adelaide, they make sure people walk in barefoot with the Aboriginal flag and they pay respect. So these kind of things are really good, because now we see when Jason Gillespie was playing, no one knew that he had this heritage of
Originality of the
Aboriginal, because that's how the media was. Because we all looked, we also not believe, because he looked more or less like Jesus, right? For 90s kids, some of us even call him as Jesus Gillespie, right? So that's how the cricket is, and now we can see they are giving a lot of prominent on Scott Boland and his history, and even on the Test series he went to that Uluru Rock and he paid homage for this. So this is nice to see, but we have a lot to go. But don't, because that's uh, what I wanted to say from Steve Smith's press conference. He just said, like Khawaja said, people abused him for playing golf just before the
game. It was said that he was not well,
Yes.
and he was not well, and he told that he cannot play the game.
Yes.
And then he was appeared to play the golf in the golf field, and it's in the media.
Yes.
And the people tried to abuse him and said, you can play golf there,
Yeah.
but you can't play for the national. And they were dressed to troll him.
Yeah, so but one beautiful thing which happened is Steve Smith said that's part of the recovery plan, because in order to get you back and because
Actually, you might
cricketers-
know in that even in Sri Lanka, once a team is coming there, Sri Lankan team, other than swimming, one of the main sport is going there is they are going to the Borella golf course. They are in the golf field and they are playing it, because playing the shots, just they are strengthening with playing golf.
Yeah, like England take these beach breaks. The other teams have this recovery process about, because that's what Steve Smith said. That's his routine. That's
Exactly.
his regime.
Yeah.
Or something like that. So we all know that cricket can be a little bit more inclusive. Cricket can be a little bit more nice, because when people come from different walks and backgrounds, they are really talented, and that's how all these first class countries or first world countries have been built, because of the migration and diversity, and they all so we need to understand Australian cricket team is strong because they are strong, because they are diverse. England cricket team won World Cup because they are diverse, because they actually brought an Irish captain and so many other origins, and there's a guy from Barbados Archer came,
Exactly.
so that's
So actually, once the very simple logic just says that once you accept the diversity, it makes you more stronger.
True. And before we sign up,
Before sign up, we have to say two things actually.
Sure.
First thing is, by today Australia is played with some Russian-born Australians, some Russians, some Greek cricketers by today, some Indian-borns are there now in Australian team.
yeah, and Moises Henrik is Spanish.
Spanish originality, and there are some Sri Lankan-born cricketers now playing in the first class Australian layers. Maybe a couple of years we can see some Sri Lankan in the Australian first 11.
True.
So Australia, honor, accept. It's our heart with you, because now today correcting the things up. But the good story of this man cannot be wind up, because the Sydney man was humiliated, and also his mom. Couple of years back, was humiliating because she was wearing hijab there in Melbourne. She was not allowed to enter there, and with the commentators showing her repeatedly over the TV and showing that. How can one be there in the thing without the hijab? Show my story. No, they knowing that. But this is Khawaja's mom, and they were showing it. This is such bad with some commentators and some people with them by then. So it was corrected by Australian media, but these things are so heartbroken for the general community who love the game, who love the equality of the game, who love game to be a general good flow and to make it to the next level. I know you are having something very exceptional right up from the Khawaja's speech.
Yeah, so there was an open newsletter written by a commentator and a journalist. So I wanted to just read few things. This is not the entire newsletter, but there are few exceptions. So those marathon knocks were more than batting displays. They were acts of faith in yourself, in the team, in Test cricket itself. There were times the game tested you severely. There were injuries, there were lean patches, there were questions about technique, about temperament, about whether you truly belonged. You answered every one of them with only one way you know, with the bat. Your story is also one of representation. You carried a heritage that is uniquely Australian and yet distinctly your own. You stood tall as a symbol of what this country can be at its best: diverse, determined, and deeply proud. Every time you walked out to bat, you carried more than just a bat and gloves. You carried hopes, you carried dreams, you carried the knowledge that children watching it from living rooms across the nation, from places far removed from the SCG. So, someone who looked like them, who sounded like them, who played for them, that matters. That will always matter. With deepest respect and endless gratitude.
With deepest respect, with endless gratitude, we say goodbye
To
Khawaja
Usman.
in today's time.
Usman Khawaja,
Khawaja, you are a hero.
Yeah,
You change many things.
true.
You are some icon for the juniors, as you told, not as a player who is some stroke play, but as an icon. Others can represent the Australian main 11 too.
You are a path breaker, you are
Yeah,
a trailblazer.
and the good thing is you stand for you.
Yeah,
You are
of
having
course.
words for you. You are having faith about what you can do for your nation. Still, I know you were heartbroken for many a times.
True.
By your own people, but still you wanted to play for your own nation. Because still you say, I'm a proud Australian, you given me a lot of things.
True.
Our hearts for you. Thank you so much.
Thank you for playing. You are a trailblazer, you are a path breaker. More than anything, you gave millions of kids all around the world the hope. Bon voyage, Usman Khawaja.
One voyage, our friend. We will meet you someday, somewhere.